Hey guys, Sir Timbers here with a long overdue wall hit tutorial. This guide will go over many aspects of anything having to do with the wall. If you're looking for a tutorial that goes over why your car sometimes flips funny on the wall, then I would highly suggest giving a look into this tutorial by Subpar in HD. It's pretty useful. Now, most of Rocket League's player base understands the benefit of wall hits versus going for an aerial, but for those of you that don't, all you really need to understand is that going up the wall uses less boost and can sometimes get you to the ball much faster than an aerial. Before I go much further, I want to point out that I actually postponed and rewrote this entire tutorial multiple times because it's so confusing to explain to other people, so if I miss something or all this gets too confusing, then I apologize. This isn't the exact reason it's taken me so long to put a video out, but it definitely hasn't helped speed up the process. Essentially, what I'm having to explain is Rocket League with tilted gravity, which is actually a fantastic way to describe how to move on the wall. If you flip the camera 90 degrees to the side so your car looks like it's sitting on the ground, you'd realize just how all basic Rocket League mechanics work on the wall. Now, from this position, gravity is still not normal, which means if you aren't accelerating on the wall, you'll slowly slide off. But from this angle, we also see that the same principles with power shots and power clears still apply. If you hit the ball right after it bounces, you will get a much more powerful hit than you would if you hit the ball before it bounces. This is much more difficult to pull off on the wall though, and unfortunately difficult to practice these hits without the use of a trainer. So when playing online, if the opportunity arises to get this sort of hit, go for it and just think of it as training. I also want to discuss the tactics to actually getting the ball up the wall. These tactics are important, and if you understand how the ball reacts to the slope on the wall, you'll begin to be able to predict where the ball is going and be able to get into position before your opponent does. The simplest way to get the ball to go smoothly up the wall is to hit the top half of the ball and create as little bounce as possible. The more bounce the ball has when it reaches the wall, the greater chance it will have of being sent out away from the wall. Now this can actually be used to your advantage, so practice in free play and try hitting the ball in different ways to see how it reacts when it goes up the wall. The key to playing well on the wall is just practice. Being able to predict exactly what will happen when the ball hits the wall is very important in higher level play and can be key for dominating your opponents in lower skilled ranks. It also helps when trying to read into your opponent's next hit before it happens and allows you to understand what options they have if they choose to go up the wall. It can lead to an easy setup, an easy shot, or can simply prevent your opponent from clearing the ball, giving you and your team the ability to keep pressure. So now that you know how to get the ball up on the wall and understand just how similar playing on the wall is compared to playing on the ground, you might be asking yourself, well then, how do I improve? Maybe you still have troubles reading the bounces off the wall, or perhaps get too many weak hits, but all of this just comes down to practice. Now obviously this isn't what you want to hear, and obviously I can't go over every single situation, but there are a few tips I can give to help you improve. The first tip would be to learn to hit the ball hard when you're on the wall. It becomes very important at higher levels to clear the ball from your side to your opponents, so being able to do that on the wall is just as important. Once again, I would like to remind you that clearing on the wall uses the same principles as clearing on the ground. If you hit the ball in the bottom half, it will go higher, and the lower you make contact with the ball, the higher it will go. Another tip to help you make powerful hits is to do the sideways or forward flip when rolling into the ball. I found that many times a side dodge does not give me the kind of power I was looking for, and I end up having to follow it up or rely on my teammates for help. Side dodges have their place when playing on the wall, but most of the time it's to get a sharp angle towards the middle of the field. Try sending the ball up the wall in free play and attempt to clear it as best as possible. Also remember that the wall is your friend, and if the ball gets sent anywhere above your net, you can use the wall to clear it or push it to the side, but you have to be there early, which brings me to my next tip. My second tip would be to try and predict other players' hits. This does not mean that you should sit on the wall like Spider-Man and wait for your opponents to possibly put the ball towards you. What it means is that you should see when your opponent's best option is to go up the wall and then try to prevent it from happening. If you're up on the wall too early, then chances are your opponent will see you and choose another option, leaving you slightly out of position. You won't always beat your opponent, but you might force them to send the ball out towards the middle instead of risking a 50-50 with you, which can in turn cause them to lose possession. Predicting other players' hits off the wall also applies to your teammates. For example, if you see that your teammate is sitting directly between the wall and the ball, then chances are they plan to center it. Being able to read your teammates and understand what their options are is important in good team synergy. Obviously, if they are random players, this may not be as accurate, but predicting your teammates' moves is exactly the same and just as important as predicting your opponent's moves. My third major tip is that if no one is contesting the ball, then take your time. I see many players who think hitting the ball as hard as they can is the right move, but often it just puts the ball back into the opponent's possession. This one you'll have to learn from online experience, but remember that speeding to the ball as quickly as possible will not always result in a goal. Sometimes you have to go slow. Another option is to bait the opposing player into coming up the wall or doing an aerial before you hit the ball. This will put one player out of position and make it easier for you to pass to a teammate or simply score a goal. My fourth and final tip is to practice those hard angles, and there are a few I would like to specifically go over. First, let's talk about your standard wall bounce. This is probably the most common shot I see people struggling to improve on. First off, you need to guess where the ball is going to be before it lands. The earlier you can predict, the more likely you are to reach the ball before anyone else does. But the problem that most people have is that they in fact go too fast and get to the ball too quickly. Now this may sound contradictory, but if you're attempting to make a shot that is going to bank off the wall, then you want to meet it a bit after it hits the wall. Take it slow and practice your timing in free play. Start a new session, pop the ball above your net, and follow it quite a ways behind. If you feel comfortable hitting these shots in free play, then go into unranked and try to go for every single bounce off the wall. You will miss, you will fail, and you might anger a teammate or two, but the point of this training is for you to improve. The second sort of hard angle is high shots. These are shots that typically bounce off the higher part of the backboard, but can sometimes sneak their way in either by a hard angle hit or a nice follow-up. Knowing how to react to your hits is always important, so if you hit the ball, are still in the air with some boost, and notice that the ball is coming back out off the backboard, try to reorient your car and fly towards it. Players who freestyle should have an easier time controlling their cars from different angles, but if you have a hard time with this, don't worry, there are other ways to practice. You don't have to freestyle to follow up shots. Go into free play, smash the ball towards the wall, and hit it hard. For these types of shot, I find it easier to follow up if I've done a side or sideways dodge towards the middle. The difficulty with these shots is that you need to get the ball in the correct position as well as your car and have a decent amount of boost left. These are the kind of shots you don't always plan for, but when the opportunity arises, you go for it. The third type of difficult angle shots are those that are farther out from the wall. The problem that most people have with these shots is that they can't control their car angled to the side very well. There are two ways of fixing this. The first way is to jump off the wall, use your air roll, and then use your thumbstick to reorient your car. This way can take away some time and power, but is always useful if you need a more reliable hit. The second way is to just practice controlling your car sideways. To do this, go into rookie aerial training and quickly position yourself on the wall. Jump and try not to use your air roll button as much as possible. You're going to want to learn to boost and control your car this way because in-game it will allow you to control your car so you are able to get to the ball without any hesitation. The way I pictured this when I first started to practice was that if the wall was to my right, then pulling right on my thumbstick would pull my car up, while pulling left would send the nose of my car down, and vice versa if the wall was on my left.
The last kind of hard angled shot is a strange but deadly one. It goes by many names: the guillotine, Thor's hammer, seagull poop, but its name does not matter.
These types of shots only occur when the ball hits the ceiling's curve above the net, causing it to drop directly down. First, let's talk about how to save these sort of shots. You have three options. The first is to have someone who is on the side of the net drive up the wall and hit it away. Now this is the most preferred way as it wastes very little boost and allows you to have the possibility of getting a good clear while staying in control. The second way is to aerial before it reaches your net. The problem here is that most of the time the defenders hit the inside of their net with their cars or go too far out and knock the ball in. If you're the only one away from your goal and you see that your teammates are in trouble, feel free to waste quite a bit of boost to clear the ball to the side before it lands in front of your net. The third way is to gamble and hope that your opponents either send the ball into you or get to the ball later than you do. At lower levels, this is typically the common solution since these sort of bounces are incredibly difficult to read. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to practicing these shots, there are almost zero options. They're a pretty rare occurrence, and when they do occur, they are often swatted away. Trying to aim for these shots is incredibly difficult, but if you find yourself in a position where you can somehow hit it, then just go for it. It puts the opponent in a very stressful situation and can often lead to own goals. Just make sure you're not doing it on your own side. That's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Hey guys, real quick, I felt I should mention that Psyonix has announced a new training tool that will actually allow you to create and share your own custom training sequences. So for all you console players who have envied the PC community and their trainer mods, fret no more. Once again, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below in the comments section, and you can also reach me on Twitter at @Sir_Timbers. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.